Welcome to the latest edition of the Shukri Wrights Podcast with your host, Shukri Wrights. Just like the tea sometimes, we all run late, but it's okay. He is the one and only DJ Bean of NBC Sports Boston. I had to throw in that pun in there. It was too perfect.
Oh, yeah.
I had to. It was just too perfect. I had it lined up in my head, and I'm just like, oh, man. But what DJ Bean of NBC Sports Boston, you give me dirty looks. What's going on? Why?
No, I mean, if you know anything about me, it's that I am on board with any corniness, any line that's there to be taken, or any like quick little 15-second tangent. Just always go. Always go. I always say to producers, I don't know if they trust me, but I'm like, hey, if I ever go away for a little bit, if we're talking about something, just trust I'm coming back, but I'm just going to make a joke for a second, or I'm going to tell a quick little story, but I promise I'll come back. And then I actually forget what I was talking about. And then I just make the joke, and then we're God knows where.
Oh, Lord. But in this case, man, it's a gorgeous day, man. I mean, it's like New England is playing its typical tricks, and this past weekend, it was like the best of both worlds. It was like, hey, here's a prelude to spring. And on the other hand, it's like, haha, gotcha, still in winter. So I'm like, really? 6 degrees on Saturday, 29 degrees with snow on Sunday. And then today, it's like going back to like near 50. And it's like, I was just outside before the recording, and I'm like, wasn't it cold? What the hell? Like,
what I don't get is, everything you said is right, and that is like typical New England.
Yeah. What
I don't get is like the pride people take in that. Like a lot of like locals act like that's good. like yeah, that's how it's supposed to be. Like people from California, they just don't get it. And I'm like, yeah, they have dope weather all the time. That's cool. Like we were in Atlanta for the Super Bowl, and it was snowing a little bit, and when it snows in a place that it doesn't typically snow, like they have to close roads and they freak out because they just don't have preparations for that. And it's very easy for Boston people to be like, yeah, we can handle that. And I'm like, yeah, well, these places don't have to handle that usually.
Exactly.
They just have like nice weather, and they probably breathe a little easier. They're maybe a little less stressed. They're a little nicer to each other. I don't know, pros and cons to everything. I love me some Boston, but it's funny that it is funny though that like, do you notice that though? Like the kind of like pride people take in like everything, even if it's like ideally we would have consistent weather, and we would know what's coming up. We would know that, okay, it's going to be cold for these 3 weeks, then it will get a little warmer, and then like the world will be normal. But instead we have the kind of herky jerky nature where 60 degrees and then like can't leave your home because you're snowed in.
Yeah, but it's essentially it's the most comical thing ever. And I'm telling you, if people didn't know any better, this is the kind of weather that'll get you sick. But of course, like having been through COVID for the last 2 years, what's a little sneeze, and a little cough can do to anybody, huh?
Yeah, I got to shout you out too, not to gas you up too much, but your video of you getting the dunks, or trying to get the dunks in the snow,
oh my
killed
God.
me. Because I live in Boston my whole life, so I get like a little trepidation when people do the whole like, this is what Bostonians are like. Like there's that, it's very good, but
it's very cringy at the same time.
Yeah. You know, like did you see the SNL clip where it was Casey Affleck? It was just like the guy Dunkin' Donuts.
Yep.
Like that was like, I found that very funny, and it was well executed. But I feel like a lot of things like that can kind of miss the mark and become a little too cartoony.
Yeah.
You know? And yours was like, I want it to be like, everybody who loved that Casey Affleck thing, just please watch this and know that like this actually happens. That like, if I had a Dunkin' Donuts, I actually do have Dunkin' Donuts within walking distance of me. But if I was like, you know what, Dunks is in play, I would go and try to get it. Like you weren't doing that as a joke. You were like,
no, that was serious.
I want Dunks.
I'm gonna let you finish that because, oh God, I have a whole explanation that I never shared with social media. That is a Shukri Wrights Podcast, iHeartRadio, Odyssey exclusive. Like seriously. So a few weeks ago, for those who don't have short-term memory and fully remember this, we got slammed with a historic nor'easter. A nor'easter of all nor'easters. We probably got like 27.5 inches regionally.
Crazy.
So that day, that Saturday, man, what an unforgettable Saturday that was. I woke up in the morning. Now, I look outside. It's maybe 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning Saturday. Now, typically, most people are sleeping at that time, or they're just, getting rid of the eye crust, and washing their faces. So I looked outside of my apartment here in Brookline, and I see that the snow has already started. I'm like, oh, this should be fun. So I call my mom, who's in Philly, and we're FaceTiming, and we're talking, and then suddenly I was like, I really am in the mood for some dunks. She's like, you should go for a walk and go to Dunkin' Donuts, get yourself a hot chocolate. I'm like, oh yeah, brilliant idea. It can't be that bad outside yet. Oh man, listen. You're familiar with like the Brookline area, so I'm literally right off Beacon Street. And for those of you that know, what I'm talking about. I get halfway down the block to Beacon, and the wind, and you remember that day, was completely unforgiving. Like gnarly. It was literally like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna give you a nice hard smack to the face. You can't breathe. I literally couldn't breathe for maybe for a good four or 5 seconds. And I'm telling you, at this point, I'm like, I made a commitment. No, go back home, and it's not worth the trip. I'm like, no, I am not a quitter, and I'm not about to start today. I start the slow ass trek down Beacon Street, past Tappan, towards Cleveland Circle, and the closer I get, it was like that. I'm like, yes, it's close. I'm getting there. Please be open. Please be open. Please be open. And then my mind told me, you know what? This could be a great TikTok video. I'm like, you know what? I want to share my joy or my pain with the world. So I gotta say, like, nothing is going. Dunks will never taste as good. That hot chocolate will be the best hot chocolate you've ever had in the world, because when you've really like, when I was younger, I would do like construction landscaping. At my lunch break, you could give me the worst sandwich I've ever had in my life, and it would be the most delicious sandwich I've ever had in my life, because like when you've really had to like get there and do something to get this, it tastes so good. Now factor in, it's not a bad sandwich. It is a cup of chocolate and sugar, which is the most delicious two things you can combine. That would have hit in ways that nothing else has hit in your life. Nothing can compare to. Yes. Oh yeah. I get closer and close. Now this gentleman standing literally in front of the doorway, and I'm looking inside the Dunks now, and I'm like, they're not closed. They're closed. The guy goes, and I lose it. That was not acting. Like people think I was like, I just effing walked 25 minutes on what is normally a 10-minute walk from my apartment down to Cleveland Circle. And I'm like, I was so heartbroken, disappointed, not angry, but I was just disappointed. I'm like, for non-New Englanders, it was like, why didn't you just call just to see if they're open? I'm like, no shit, dumbass. I actually did. But I got a busy tone. So I said, you know what? I'm going to make the trek. And
you're like, not only are they open, they are hopping if I'm getting the busy signal.
Normally,
It's ringing off the hook over there.
like seriously. So I am like so upset and disappointed. And for everyone that this video, I don't even know how many views it's got at this point. Last time I checked weeks ago, probably like 65,000 plus views, plus many more on TikTok.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, yeah, that is literally all of us right now. And it was one of those things where it was like, I've lived here long enough. I've now officially been living here 5 years. So I've been here long enough to know, no, this is a thing. So when it snows, oh no, we can go for Dunks. Like, if you really want to live out to be the prototypical New Englander, get yourself an iced coffee. Just freaking sip it while you walk out.
Dude, another thing that made that, I think that one aspect made that video pop even more. And listeners that don't have this, you and I both have this, won't be able to identify the fact that you have facial hair makes it a lot harder. Because it's snowing so much.
Yeah.
If you sweat or if snow gets on your face, if any moisture gets on your face,
Yep.
it is then getting blown like deep into your face by that wind,
Into your
and then
pores.
it's freezing.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's freezing. So you just, I got like, I ordered for this nor'easter, I ordered like a full ass, like fabric, like woven, thick, like cover everything but your eyes. Can't even breathe.
Yep.
But I'm like, I can't get any moisture on my face because that freezes to you. And it is like, it's like the Christmas Story scene with the kid licking the pole.
The pole, yep.
Except there's like a million poles being licked on your face.
At the
So
same time.
that is discomfort that you experience trying to get that. And then like discomfort followed by agony.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody likes a tragedy, I suppose. So maybe that's why that video popped as much as it is. But I saw that and I'm like, man, everybody says like, this is the most Boston thing ever. This is the most Boston thing ever.
Yeah.
That video was the most Boston thing ever. And it was like a Boston thing. Like you weren't being mean to anybody. Like a lot of Boston stereotypes are like, get out of my way. Blah, blah, I'm tough.
Yep.
I'm a Boston. I was like, this is a feel good or feel bad, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I was like, no one was harmed in the making of this video but one person.
Me.
And he shared it and like had a good attitude about it. So like we're allowed to laugh.
Exactly. And that's what it was all about. Like it was truly like a moment in time that is forever etched and definitely like caught a lot of people's attentions. Now I had my lady call me. She FaceTimed me the day of the storm. And I laugh about this because I'll never forget her reaction. She answers her phone and her eyes literally dead came out of her damn eye, her damn head. Like she was like, "What the hell are you doing outside?" I tried walking to Dunks. Her reaction was, "No, you did." I literally pointed behind me and she's like, "You really walked to Dunks?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Were they open? No. She cried laughing in my face. And now she's from here, born and raised, Dorchester, a woman through and through. She laughed so hard in my face. I was like, "Babe, what? Like, why? Why are you doing this to me?" She goes, "Did you call?" I'm like, "Yes." I got a busy dial tone.
Stop asking.
Stop asking. But it was, but that day was just pure hilariousness. But another moment of pure hilariousness that really set Twitter off. And I'm realizing more and more that I just know the right buttons to push at the right time. See, I'm a native New Yorker who moved here 5 years ago, knowing what good pizza is at that and what belongs on pizza. Now, there are people that'll say, "Well, pineapples belong on pizza. It's a great combination." And to them, I say, drink bleach. No, it does not. And when I saw your tweet, I couldn't help but to think, DJ, no.
The thing is, like, you put it out there, like, hey,
yeah,
I'm trying to help you guys. Like, I'm telling you, I know pizza. This does not go on pizza. And I believe my response was like, fuck it. Sorry, I don't know if you can swear. Can you swear anymore?
Yeah, go.
Yeah. I was like, fuck it. Let's have the fight. You want to have the fight?
Yeah. Yep, it was.
And honestly, like, here's my argument. And this is a long standing argument that many people have. Does pineapple go on pizza? My thing is, I think a lot of the pineapple doesn't go on pizza thing is based on, it seems weird to put a fruit on pizza. And I contend that pizza is literally made of fruit.
It is. Tomato is a fruit.
Tomato is a fruit.
Yes, it is.
Tomato is a fruit. It's we all know it's like really a vegetable, but like technically it's like how piano is a percussion instrument. Yeah. Or like, no, it isn't. Or like the drums are a percussion instrument. Like sleigh bells are a percussion instrument, but piano is a percussion instrument. Tomato is a fruit. So a tomato is joined by its cousin, pineapple, and pineapple gets in the mix. And they're not like friends. They're like, maybe like their parents don't get along super well or like lost touch, but they are cousins. They are related to each other. So they can be there. I'm not just putting pineapple on a pizza willy-nilly, Shukri. I'm doing a Hawaiian pizza. I'm tossing some ham on there. And if you really want to make a Hawaiian pizza pop, and this is going to sound a little gluttonous, excessive, put ham and bacon. Isn't that redundant? Yes.
Oh God, yeah. It really is. But yeah. Mm-hmm.
Get that fat, get that saltiness, and then balance it out with that sweetness of the pineapple. But like I get some kind of way about like, does this go on pizza? Does that go on pizza? Like, I think that there's certain toppings that I say get the hell away from my pizza, even if they're good in their own right.
Well, what would one be for an example?
Number one, banana peppers.
Yeah, I'm actually in agreement with that. I will go jalapenos, green peppers,
yes.
Banana peppers. No.
I think that bell peppers like are so good on pizza. So you give me green peppers, you give me red bell peppers, you give me anything, and then generally like you want to toss like a sausage on there as well if you're a meat eater, or mushrooms are good on there as well. But jalapenos, I agree, delicious. Yeah. But something about banana peppers, I think, and I could be wrong on this, I think the actual taste of a banana pepper is very strong, very overwhelming. For me, if I'm eating pizza, I don't want to lose the sweet attention that gets paid to the cheese and the tomato and whatever. I guess
it's got to be the right amount of cheese, by the way, too.
Yeah.
Because I believe I have seen pizzas where it has too little cheese, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Oh God! Like
at that point, like you're just giving me toast with.
You might as well give me toast with tomatoes. Seriously.
Yeah, but why? So like, why do you have the bad experience with the pineapple on the old za?
Because, all right, for the native New Yorkers who are listening and watching this podcast, either or, and to all of my viewers and listeners, I appreciate you. Thank you as always. In New York, there is one of two ways we usually enjoy your pizza. There's the correct way and there's the wrong way. There's the way in which that if your pizza is too soggy, and there's a way if it's just got the right amount of crisp, like not too burnt, but just the right amount of crisp where you fold it and you bite into it. It's got a slight crunch. It's got a crunch, not the crunch where it's like you bite into it and then you feel one of your teeth just fell out. Now, pineapple, for the life of me, just look at pineapple as a fruit alone. I'm like, I love pineapple, but I don't like it on pizza because one, the idea of pineapple, which is on the sweeter end of a fruit, versus tomato, which is not on the sweet end of the fruit, is on the opposite end of the spectrum. And I'm like, no, I get that opposites attract, but not in this case. Like, just no. Give me my peppers. I will do jalapenos any day of the week. And if I really want to be gluttonous, I'll throw out the bacon. Give me ground beef or Philly steak on there instead. Jalapenos, no.
Okay, you're talking with ground beef, which I think is like a kind of underutilized pizza topping.
It's very underutilized, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, I remember when I was a kid, I had a friend who liked meatball pizza. And I remember I was like, even though I'm like 8 years old, I think this kid needs to grow up putting meatballs on his pizza. Like,
Stop!
What a child. Go get some SpaghettiOs. You're trying to do that. We're eating pizza right now. We're adults here. Again, 8 years old. But ground beef, whenever I have it on pizza now, I'm like, why don't I do this more often? Yeah. I mean, I always, though, typically, I really like to have a meat on there. I like to have chicken on there. I love me some barbecue chicken pizza. That's delicious. Yes. How do you feel about when places do barbecue chicken also with pizza sauce on it? Because a lot of times when you do a barbecue chicken pizza, it'll be like barbecue sauce based. Sometimes people will just combine it. That sounds gross. And I generally still have a good time with it.
I have a good time with it, but I'm not the biggest fan. I'm not saying that it's disgusting. Yeah. What I'm saying is that like it throws it off because barbecue sauce is typically on the sweeter side.
Yeah.
Now, tomato sauce and barbecue sauce,
yeah,
I just can't get behind it. Like, just the thought of it alone is like, I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. Like, it's just, I don't know.
So, who do you like locally for pizza places?
Ooh, Santarpio's. Now, someone made a suggestion to me. It was 2018 during the during the Red Sox championship season. And they were like, "Oh, you want to talk about great pizza in Boston? Santarpio's." I'm like, Santarpio. All right, you know what? I'm a foodie. I'm gonna take your word, but I promise you, if this thing tastes gross, I'm coming to your house and I'm kicking your ass. Like, I like you know that I'm from New York and we don't take this crap lightly at all. So this better be good. So I go there one afternoon. This was like a summer day, and I walk from the Maverick Landing Blue Line stop to Santarpio's, which is right next to the highway coming out of Sumner Tunnel, coming by not far from Logan. I walk there. I order me a whole ass pie of cheese. Just start with cheese.
Yeah, it's a good way to do it. And
for some reason, they gave me, I think it was like a small I think it wasn't a jalapeno, but it was like a green pepper-ish, something like that, something to squeeze on it. Man, I walked from there all the way back over to Maverick Pier, the landing area.
Mm-hmm.
I sat on the bench, squeezed it. Oh my God. I'm standing. Just talking about it now, it's like, yes, they nailed it. They nailed it. But another one, just real quick before you go, Town Spa down in Stoughton.
Yo, I have not done Town Spa yet.
We need to go together whenever you're free. Seriously.
Yes, absolutely. I need to do it because I feel every time someone goes to Town Spa, they do the phone eats first thing. Like, and they take the picture, they post it, and it always looks so good. I see the pickles on there. It looks it looks like burnt cheese is just a great thing.
Oh yes,
burnt cheese on the outside. That gets me very intrigued. So, dude, tell me time and place. We'll do it. Also, I don't know if you're a New York guy. I don't know how you feel about New Haven pizza. But Frank Pepe has opened a few locations.
Phenomenal.
Yes.
Phenomenal. Honestly, people who now I'm about to ruffle a lot of feathers on this one.
Do it.
New Haven pizza is one of the top pizzas in America, bar none. New York pizza is like top because we're not talking Chicago deep dish nonsense. That's a casserole on bread. We're not talking Detroit style pizza. We're talking actual pizza that you can go to a local pizzeria spot, whether it be in Brooklyn or in Queens or in the city of Manhattan and whatnot. It is one of the top. New Haven worth the trip on Metro North, because that is like literally the very last stop on Metro North in Connecticut before you hit that central Connecticut line where you're really like, now you're in New England. New Haven's still part of New York Metro, so to speak. Excuse me. Now, with that being said, Frank Pepe, oh my God, their pizza, you have to plan a trip. Especially like if anyone who's watching this or listening who live in Metro Boston or anywhere in Greater Boston, you legitimately have to drive down there. Like it's
worth it.
It's worth the drive. Oh man, hell, plan a date night if you want.
Yo, dude, I was years ago. The Bruins. It was when I was covering the Bruins. The Bruins were playing the Islanders, and they were going to and it was going to be the first game that Johnny Boychuk had played against the Bruins since they traded him.
Oh, that was 2014.
I knew that people were going to be getting out ahead of it and trying to talk to Boychuk before, so I wanted to make sure I had like the best Johnny Boychuk story, that it was like thorough, that I had his perspective on everything. And he and I were like cool enough that I felt like if I go like try to get a story, like I'll be able to get it. And I was gonna drive to so the week before I was like, all right, I'm gonna go drive to New York, get go to an Islanders practice and talk to him, do this story, and then I'll come back, and then I'll be able to, and then like in the days that everybody's getting ready to write their stories, I'll just boom, drop this big story. And when I decided to do it, it was probably like 8, 9, 10 p.m. on a Sunday night. And I just had like a little anxiety about driving that late at night, which like makes me sound like an old person, but whatever. Like, people's headspaces are where they are. Like, I feel like right now I could do it, but for whatever reason, I was like, I was a little nervous about driving that late. I was like my grandmother or something. So I called my dad and I was like, hey, I'm going to shoot you straight. I'm going to New York. I'm doing this story. I don't know if you would be interested in doing it, but like, come with. I'll have someone to talk to on the drive. We'll hang out. Like, father-son time is the best. I will take more of it every day of the week. So I was like, if you're up for like a late night trip, let's drive. I'll do the story in the morning. We go to breakfast, everything. And on the way back, we'll stop and we'll go to Frank Pepe, get some pizza. Yeah. And he's kind of like Kramer when they suggest something to him. He just says like, yes. And they're like, damn, we could have said anything, but he's just like down for anything. He's a cool guy. So he was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. So we went and stopped on the way back and got Frank Pepe. And that I'm sure made it worth it for him. It certainly made it worth it for me. It was awesome. Fond memory, stopping in New Haven, getting some Frank Pepe with Dave Bean Sr.
Oh man, that sounds amazing. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
Oh man. Like when I talk about like really good pizza, like Town Spa came to mind because I remember it was sometime in the late winter, early spring of 2019. I go down to Foxborough randomly. It was a Saturday, and I just wanted to go by Gillette Stadium, and we, like me and an acquaintance at the time, like we decided to go to the movies at our Patriot Place. So we go there. It's now Saturday night. It's like maybe 7:30. Bruins, if I remember correctly, I believe they're playing on Hockey Night in Canada. They had the game on, so we get inside Town Spa. It's in Stoughton. We get inside, and I'm like, I pray that this pizza is good, because I swear to God, bad pizza legitimately ruined my day. It would ruin my night. It'll probably ruin my week. But as I recall ordering my pizza, now I ordered a I believe it was, if I remember correctly, it was something with cheeseburger. It was a cheeseburger pizza. It was like with like ground beef on top of the pizza, well cooked. Oh man, I'm telling you, that pizza was greasy as hell. But I was like, I will die a happy man. I would not mind this. I haven't been back there since. It's been 3 years, but I'm serious about this. I really want to make this trip. And if you're down,
I need to go anyway. So I am down.
We need to go.
Let's do it. Also, one more recommendation. You mentioned Detroit style pizza.
Yeah.
I quite love Detroit style pizza. I like that. Like, it's kind of becoming a bit of a pumpkin spice latte in that, like, everybody, it's like kind of the, oh my God, this Detroit style pizza is everything. But I contend that a lot of things that are super popular because they're good. Like, if like my favorite musician is probably Billy Joel, like, and I was like, Billy Joel, I'm like, yeah, he was like top of the charts because his songs were awesome. So it's not, so I pass no judgment if someone likes the cool new trendy thing. And Detroit style pizza, it seems, is kind of that these last couple of years, but it is delicious. And Avenue in Somerville is,
I haven't been there yet, but I've heard a lot of good things about it.
Strong wreck there. Strong wreck. I got that for not this past Super Bowl, but the one before, Brady and the Bucks against the Chiefs. Yeah. And it was a real snowstorm then too.
Yep.
So I ordered, I watched it by myself. Plans got canceled. So I just stayed home, got some Avenue. I got pizza, chicken fingers, and fries. Probably, I don't know how I'm still alive, because I really need to. I'm 33. Like, I really need to.
I'm 30, so we're both in our 30s.
Yeah, like I'm really, this past year especially, I've been like, just like listening to my body, which is crazy because I never do that, because I'm like, this tastes good, I want to eat this. But now I'm like, man, you actually do kind of have to pick your spots. But that was absolutely a day where I was like, it's the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
I don't get to see any of my friends. Like I was very fearful that because I don't know if you remember last postseason, but I was pulling my hair out that Tom Brady would have like an okay game. The defense would dominate. They'd win. And everyone would be like, Brady did it. And I'd be like,
I remember your conversations on NBC Sports Boston about that. And I'm like,
I was losing my mind.
People were like still fawning over Brady, he pulled it out of the Heineken. No, he did not. The defense was great. Didn't.
His name is Devin White.
And Shaq Barrett.
Yeah, his name is Shaq Barrett. Like these players have names, and it is not Tom Brady. So I was afraid. I was like, oh no. When I saw that they were killing Mahomes, I was like, oh no, they are going to win on defense again. And everyone's going to act like to me, like I'm wrong. Like, see, he won. And I'll be like, yo, he played on a team that won. But fortunately, Brady was great in that game.
Yeah.
So none of that happened. We could all be like, yes, Brady was excellent. Give the man his flowers, because more times than not, Brady is excellent. But yeah, man, I was like, I'm going to eat myself into a coma because maybe I'll die. So I don't have to hear everybody. Oh my God. I'm still like flat. I'm reliving those arguments I was having. And folks, I will be the first to tell you, I was right. I was right. I was not saying anything that was incorrect. Well, but as a result of that, man, like, I don't know if you do this, but when someone's leaning so much into like an exaggerated argument or an incorrect argument, it just makes me want to lean into an exaggerated version of the other side of the argument. So when everyone's like, it's happening with Mac Jones this year or this past year, where everyone's like, oh, they got the guy. Isn't Mac Jones great? And I'm like, if you say Mac Jones is great, that means I get to say that Mac Jones sucks, because he isn't great and he doesn't suck. But if we're going to lie about one thing, let's lie about everything. Mac Jones is pretty good. And I think that he can be like anywhere between like the 14th to 8th best quarterback in the league. And if you are the Patriots, oh boy, you take that, because it's not very easy to have like a top 10-ish quarterback. And if he can be that, cool. But let's wait until he's that before we say it. Anyway.
This sounds like the typical Felger extremism when it comes to takes. It like, and I've gotten so used to that, where it's like, it's no in between. It's either, man, Mac Jones he is not great, but he's going to be another Chad Pennington. He's going to be a middle of the road quarterback who is going to do not a whole lot. And I think the Patriots will be better served looking for another quarterback. And it's like, God damn, for like, it's only been 1 year.
One year for like 13 seconds. Yeah.
Seriously, only 13 seconds. But it's just like, oh, geez. But this is one of the things that I've come to love about being someone who is working in the Boston sports media, grinding and so forth. And I get to listen and watch to what people are saying in this market about guys like Mac Jones, for example. And even to add another pigeon to the basket, the Celtics now that they're on fire, they won 9 in a row, and they completely demolished the 76ers last night. Oh my
goodness, yeah.
Like, but now I am one of those, and I am at fault at times not talking enough about the Celtics, although I am a Celtics fan. But the thing that I look at with this team is that now people are starting to believe, and there's a voice in the back of my head that's like, yeah, but defensively they're awesome, but how long can Tatum and Brown continue to play well together? And, like Derek White, like how much more can he continue to evolve into being an integral part of the Celtics offense? There's so many what ifs in my back of my head. But yet everybody is just throwing on the pom-poms. And I'm like, I'm not ready to do that yet. Am I crazy?
Yeah, man, it is. I'm going to reference my favorite artist, Billy Joel. Yeah. And he's got a song called I Go to Extremes. And I always think like the chorus is, darling, I don't know why I go to extremes, too high or too low. There ain't no in between. And if that doesn't summarize the Boston sports either fan experience or media experience, I don't know what does, because you're right. It has to be, it's the best or it's the worst.
Yep.
And in a team like the Celtics or a team like the Patriots this past year, that's a good comparison you made. Like, there has to be a lot of there. So much of it is we'll see. The Celtics are a team that has failed and underachieved for 2 years in a row now. And when they get hot, there should be some the uncertainty should remain.
Yeah.
Now, you shouldn't say this is fake, it doesn't count, because check the standings. their winning percentage improves every time they win a game because it does count. So this is real. This is happening, but it doesn't mean, okay, well, now they have the best shot at winning a title or something like that. And
hate that.
I guess it's not exciting to say I don't know, but so much of what I do with everything is like say I don't know because like we just don't. And I think that like it's kind of important to have some authenticity with how you carry yourself. Like if you're really passionate about, if I really passionately feel that like I don't know, that like Jason Tatum is the next coming, which I thought that like, then I could lean into like, Tatum's going to be awesome. Tatum's going to be awesome. Tatum's going to be awesome. If I wasn't sure about Tatum, I didn't have to say either Tatum's going to be awesome or Tatum's going to be terrible. I could have said, well, I mean, 3rd overall pick in what was considered a 2-player draft. So we'll see what happens. And there's nothing wrong in saying that. It's just not going to yield the, did you see what DJ or did you see what Shukri said on that podcast? You know, you have to say one or the other to do that. And I don't know, like I want people to think DJ's himself. I'm sure you want people to think Shukri's himself. Like if he's saying we need to wait on this, it's because he feels that. It's not because he's trying to rain on anyone's parade. And that's the way that I am with Mac Jones. I'm like, can we please wait until he's good before we say that he's good? I had a freak out. The day after the Dolphins beat the Patriots in week 1, we led all of our coverage. I'm not knocking my workplace or anything, but like the big thing that like a lot of our people were pushing was, sure, they lost, but they've got the quarterback. I was on the day after that, and I was like,
I was at that game too, so I'm curious to hear what you have to say. Go ahead.
I was like, let me go, because I do not know. I don't think that Mac Jones was bad. I don't think that he stunk, but I sure don't know that they got the quarterback. And if I'm going to be late on Mac Jones being the guy, I'll be late. I've been late for everything. I was late for this podcast. Lord, forgive me. I would rather be late to something than to have that freezing cold take. You know, I'd rather be late to something. And Mac Jones is a Pro Bowl Pro Bowl. I shouldn't say that because he actually was this year. That was ridiculous. But like Mac Jones ends up being a Hall of Famer, and people say, DJ, you didn't think that he was any good until his 2nd season. I would say guilty. Okay, fine. But if he flames out, and we're saying,
and it's a possibility that he could.
I mean, Andy Dalton's actually had a fine career, but like if he ends up being Andy Dalton, which was like encouraging first year, the team got better over the course of the season, but then kind of hit a wall and they got blown out in the playoffs. That's exactly what happened to the Patriots this year. Then like that happens with players, but I don't know. I'm not going to commit to something extreme unless I'm actually feeling it. And I know that like anybody who was saying that after week 1 that Mac Jones was the guy, they were saying that because they felt that, you know, like they saw something and they were very confident in him, and that's great. But I just like I can't say something that I don't believe in. And I feel that like media gets a bad rap because a lot of people think like, oh, you're just saying that for attention, or you're just saying that to be a contrarian and everything. I honestly don't think that people do that often. Like I think that Stephen A. Smith, I think he's like the number 1 media person in anything. I'm not talking about sports. I'm talking about in anything. You put him like up against Hoda, you put him up against Kathy Lee, put him up against Ryan Seacrest, anybody in any walk of this entertainment television game. Stephen A. is number 1. And I never think that he is saying anything to just be that guy. I just think that he is a passionate person. And I love that about him. So yeah, long story short, I'm not going to say anything to have the take. And I think most people don't do that.
I think there are some that do. There's some, but, and it's so clear. I mean, most notably, like Mike Felger does it better than anyone that I've seen so far. But I'll be the first to tell you, like that first game, I was at, that was one of the on a handful of games I had the chance to go to this past season at Gillette. Week 1 against Miami, because I really wanted to see Mac Jones. What was the hype? Why was he selected as a starter quarterback over Cam Newton after getting slammed all summer because I said that I don't think Cam Newton should be the starter? The tape is there on Twitter from this past late July, early mid-August. It's all there. And I think about this now, and I look back on that game and also the entire season in which I say to myself, you know what? Mac Jones was not bad at all. He was good, but here's the problem that I have. And I talked about this with Mark Bertrand on the last podcast episode. And I said, my biggest concern is that whoever follows Brady is never going to be able to live up to the expectations. And I think that we are placing too much expectation on Mac Jones too soon because we got comfortable after having Brady for 20 years.
Oh, yeah, that's without a doubt. And I think that people wanted to say, all right, you had Brady. And quickly, I'll say, like, they didn't have a good plan after Brady, but Brady wasn't going to. If Brady stayed after, they kicked him out. But if Brady had stayed, he would have still been miserable as he was in 2019. And it would the happy things that we saw in Tampa just weren't going to occur here. And that's nobody's fault. It might be the Patriots' fault because they didn't just pay him. But like, relationships get old, feelings are what they are. So like whatever you saw from Brady post New England, unfortunately wasn't going to happen here. So you got to get over that. But people wanted to go from, all right, they had Brady, then they brought in Cam didn't work. And I was waving when the Patriots got Cam Newton, everybody was like, Belichick does it again. I was like, yo, this guy is coming off a Liz Frank and nobody wanted him. Like the entire league didn't want him. And people were like, oh, well, like people, they didn't want him because of like racism or whatever. And like, that could very well be part of it.
Wow.
No, like, I don't think that owners were saying like, don't sign the black quarterback, but anytime somebody in the NFL doesn't get an opportunity, that alarm goes off with me a little because we've seen what's happened.
Oh, absolutely.
But I was trying to stress to people. I was like, I really think a lot of it is that people think that like the league thinks he's washed. And I will be very surprised if he's good. And if he comes back and he's good and he's healthy, then we are talking about the racism thing because we were saying, how in the world did you let somebody who is still capable sit there all off season? And they brought him in and he kind of was what I thought he would be, like kind of.
He was okay to start, but then COVID said, hi, I'm going to come knock on your door. And then after that, for me, what ultimately did it was that Niner game at home. That for me was like, I can't do this. I can't do this no more. Like, I'm out.
They must have hated Jarrett Stidham to not go to him.
Oh, they did.
When Cam just, and it was tough because he came off as kind of the anti-Brady. Cam did, because Brady late in the game in New England, you could just tell he wasn't happy, and he wanted to figure out the rest of his life, and that probably didn't include New England. Cam Newton came in here. And he was affable. He was accountable. He was everything that you wanted in a player, except for one thing, which is good at playing. That was just like the one tiny little ingredient that was missing with Cam Newton. So I think fans want to say, okay, we had Brady. We tried something the next year. It didn't work, but then we figured it out. And I think there is so much pressure on Mac Jones to be then we figured it out. And I had a lot of questions like, well, if they love Mac Jones so much, how are they letting him fall in the draft? Because there was a million ways that Mac Jones could have gone before they were on the board at 15.
Absolutely.
I think, honestly, they probably liked somebody else at 15, a defensive player perhaps, and said, look, if a quarterback's there, we'll take the quarterback because it's our biggest need. But I don't think they were like so head over heels with Mac Jones. I don't think that anybody really was head over heels with Mac Jones. That's why I think partially why Josh McDaniels just got a job, because I think the NFL, you saw with Mac Jones's slide that the NFL agreed that Mac Jones maybe wasn't the best prospect, that they got an NFL performance out of him. I think made teams say, all right, Josh, okay, that is good coaching. You did make a good environment for this guy. If you did this with this prospect we didn't love, what can you do with this quarterback who's kind of middle of the pack, a la Derek Carr? So you are right, though. I think that a lot of people just very much want him to be the guy. And I forget what I think it's called confirmation bias.
Yeah.
Your brain works all day to confirm and reaffirm what you want it to think. Mm-hmm. So if you think everyone's out to get me, then you're going to spend the day seeing little slights, observing little slights. If you think I'm the man, you will spend all day seeing like, oh, I just did this. Yeah, I'm the man. We so badly want Mac Jones to be the guy that anything positive he does, we see as, yes, he did something positive, therefore he's the guy. And that's like, I won't even call that psychology 101 because I probably just misused that example completely. It's probably like psychology 0.03, but it's understandable. Like, we're human. If we want this guy to be the person, we'll be looking for any little thing we see that tells us he's okay. I had a little trepidation about Mac Jones. I didn't like him going into the draft. And I know that not nobody, but a lot of people around Boston didn't want Mac Jones. So when he turns around on his first drive of the game and throws the ball in the wrong direction to a tight end standing behind him as Jonnu Smith is like waving his arm saying, don't throw the ball to me, that confirms to me, ooh, maybe he isn't the best prospect here. So it's all about what you're looking for. And Patriots fans naturally wanted him to be the guy. So any sign of encouragement they took.
And it's a really fascinating thing to think about in terms of the psychological aspect, in terms of like Mac Jones falling in the NFL draft. Whereas if the Patriots were to somehow land a guy like Micah Parsons at 15, let's say he had fell, because that would have been an absolute game changer and then some. Because I even look at him now and I say, no, that dude is something special. But there was a reason why. Like, didn't Dallas trade up to go get they trade up to get him. There was a reason why. Yeah. But the Patriots needed a quarterback, and last year was the year to get them a quarterback. But it's only been 13 seconds. What you hope it will be a full 4 quarters before you get a full glimpse as to what he truly is as an NFL quarterback. And that's why I feel like this offseason is going to be absolutely critical, for one of the most critical like offseason for any first-year quarterback in the NFL. And the reason why I say that is because you have a question mark as to who the hell your offensive coordinator is going to be. You have question marks as to like who the hell is your defensive coordinator going to be. And you decide that you're going to bring back Joe Judge, and you're considering bringing back Adam Gase. I'm sorry. Did I miss something here? Or did Bill decide to say, you know what? I see something in him that no one else sees in him. Oh, and what would that be? Oh, I see that this guy, he wasn't given a fair shot, but he has talent. And I said this to Patriot fans a little more than about 2 weeks ago. You better start praying now. If you didn't pray before, do not allow Bill Belichick to bring Adam Gase to New England.
You sound like my guy, Tommy Giles.
I think that's a compliment, by the way.
Yeah. He's oh man, I love that guy. He's my partner in crime. But he is so terrified at the possibility of Adam Gase. And he's like, can I just get an explanation on why Adam Gase, other than that, like maybe he'll feel indebted to Belichick. Like, you saved me, so he'll do whatever he wants. I want to quickly bring up,
sure.
You mentioned that like this was the year for them to get a quarterback. I brought this up a lot late in the season, and it was kind of to be a little annoying, I suppose, but it's not. But it's still something I strongly believed. It's like you come up with something and you're like, ooh, I believe this, but also, ooh, people aren't gonna like this one. How different would the Patriots say Mac Jones was gone when the Patriots were on the clock at 15? If they took Christian Barmore 15th overall, which he was projected to be like a mid first round pick, he fell. If they took Christian Barmore in the first round and Davis Mills in the second, how different do you think their season would have been? Because I don't think it would have been different at all.
I think it would have been massively different. The Patriots won't even make the playoffs. This is the same team. This is the same team that had the number 1 seed overall until they decided that they were going to fall apart like sloppy eggs for breakfast in the morning. Like, I do believe that the talent level between Mac Jones and Davis Mills is night and day. Okay. And that is the reason why I believe that the Patriots with Mills would not have been a playoff team had he been available at 15 and if Mac Jones was already taken off the board.
So I'll say this. It is without question better that it ended up this way. They got Mac Jones at 15 and Barmore in the second, because if they took Barmore in the first round and Mills in the second, even if Mills ended up being good, there's obviously value in taking the quarterback in the first round instead of the second round, because then you get that 5th-year option. So it would be better if they had it's better the way that it worked out. But I think that as far as this season is concerned, I think you probably could have gotten out of Davis Mills something approximating the performance that you got from Mac Jones. Like I came away impressed with what Davis Mills was able to do in Houston in what was a catastrophic situation. I think so much of what you got out of Mac Jones is that like this environment was proven right. Like this is a good situation for a quarterback. Much like Jimmy Garoppolo looked good here. And obviously Tom Brady was very successful here. That was probably more Tom Brady than anything else. But like
no Belichick credits.
Mac Jones being here showed that, this is a good environment for a quarterback who you might not think is the upper echelon of prospects. That's why, man, I was down. Whenever anyone's like, you're going to crap on Mac Jones? Well, he's the best rookie quarterback. And I'm like, so you're saying you would take him over Trevor Lawrence? Stop it.
Liar.
Stop it.
I call them liars. I call them liars all day, every day of the week. Like,
man,
really?
I would still take Trey Lance over Mac Jones. I would take Zach Wilson's a tough one because
no way. I pass.
You pass on Zach Wilson?
I will legitimately pass on. Yeah. Pass.
Yeah. But Trey Lance, we'll see what he ends up being in San Francisco. I think it was telling that the 49ers really thought he wasn't ready because they had every opportunity to go to him. Shout out Jimmy Garoppolo, though, putting together a decent season. I think that a lot of people were kind of done with him and gave up on him. Yeah. He was okay. We just kind of know what he is at this point. But yeah, I would have taken some of those other quarterbacks ahead of, and Justin Fields still, I think I'd probably rather have than Mac Jones. But we're not going to know truly because no one can mess it up like the Bears. So actually, you know what? I the Jaguars can mess it up like the Bears. And unfortunately, 2 of those quarterbacks are in those places. I get Byron Leftwich passing on them, but I'm like, man, I wish that I was a Byron Leftwich guy. I really want that program to be saved. I don't know if Doug Peterson's doing it.
I don't know if Doug Peterson would be enough to save the Jaguars from the sinking ship that they are. But what we do know, and we've seen this time and time again, that the right coach can turn around a program. I mean, you saw that with the head coach of the St. Louis Rams when they won in '99.
Mike Martz.
You saw that. You saw that with Bill Belichick here for the last 21 years. Like you saw that with Tony Dungy with Indianapolis. Like you saw that time and time again. But when the Jaguars hired Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson, my brain has having massive fart bombs. Like when they hired him, I said, I actually like the move, but you're going to have to change the philosophy of the organization in order to really go anywhere. And this is why I am so scared for the Cincinnati Bengals of all teams, because not because they don't have the quarterback, which they clearly have. They have arguably the best young receiver in the game right now in Jamar Chase. No, I'm not debating that. That's a fact. And somehow, some way, They have the third biggest cap space in the NFL, but their ownership group is notoriously cheaper than the real dudes. That's why I am scared that they are ultimately not going to address their needs. And the number one needs for the Bengals is their offensive line. We saw it for 2 straight Super Bowls now. Last year and this year, the importance of having a solid offensive line. You can have the quarterback, you can have the weapons surrounding him, but if your offensive line is trash, it's going to get exposed because I'm sorry, Joe Burrow is not lasting 5 years if he's going to get sacked 70 times a season.
Yeah, and one thing that didn't get enough attention, all right, so they went Chase over Sewell, 5th overall.
Yeah.
And that was the right move. I made a face as they were doing it because I was like, oh, dude, like this dude's coming off an injury is Burrow. Like, you're going to get him killed, but Chase is awesome. Chase, unquestionably better player than Penei Sewell. So, okay, they made the right pick there. But in the second round, the Patriots trade up for Christian Barmore. It was with the Bengals, and there were still linemen on the board. They ended up moving down later in the second round and getting a different one who wasn't rated as highly. I forget his name, but I was like, how are they not taking this seriously? And as we saw with the Chiefs improved their offensive line, obviously they went out and they signed everybody. They traded for everybody, signed everybody, got Joe Thuney. An offensive line is kind of a tough thing to totally overhaul in one off season. Like, you need to have guys who are used to playing with each other and playing off of each other.
Absolutely.
So to completely just fly in a new offensive line isn't going to be easy. Yeah. They're going to have to spend and they're going to have to invest, but it might take a year or two to actually get that thing up and running, but they need to do it. Clearly, they need to do it.
This is part of the reason why, although the NFL season is over and I'm having my withdrawals right now, and it will hit me on Sunday that there is no NFL game to be watched until preseason in August, regular season in September, which makes me sad. But speaking of withdrawals, the Bruins are going to be gone for a while, and I couldn't have this podcast without talking some Bruins of some sort. And I look at this team now, and with everything that's going on within the last week plus, Tuukka Rask is retired. Bergeron, he returned back to the ice to practice with the Bruins as the Bruins are getting ready to play with the Islanders next. And I wonder, and this was a thought that came to mind yesterday, and I really want to address this on the podcast now because Don Sweeney's contract is coming to an end at the end of this season. And the Bruins have massive question marks to answer in regards to the roster and the direction where this team is going to be headed. How comfortable are you with Don Sweeney making long-term decisions, given that he may not be the general manager come July 1st?
Okay. I'm going to say off the bat, I don't think Don Sweeney's a very good general manager.
He hasn't been.
And
I know I'm going to get ripped for that, but
Don Sweeney hasn't been my biggest. Don Sweeney hasn't been my biggest fan, dating back to when I was covering the Bruins. Very nice guy, lovely person. I don't think that he's a very good general manager. Now, I am not worried actually at all that him being a quote unquote lame duck GM will cause him to do something dangerous, because if they were to do that, they could do what they did to Peter Chiarelli in his final year, which was they didn't let him make certain moves when it seemed like they might miss the playoffs and they were considering firing him. They let him make the Brett Conley move because that was draft picks for a young player. So they said, okay, fine, that you can do because that can't really hurt us long term. It didn't end up being a good trade. It was 2 second-round picks for a player who didn't really work out here. But they more or less handcuffed him at the trade deadline. So if they wanted to do that with Don Sweeney, they could do that. They could say, hey, look, we're not making any crazy investments here. We got to see what's what. We'll see how the team ends up doing, and we're going to reassess in the offseason. And it sucks for you to hear that, but that's just where they're at. So they could do that. Even if they don't do that, if I were Don Sweeney, I would not be worried for my job, this ownership group cares about, and this is a point that I'm going to lift from my guy Mike Felger, when they signed Linus Ullmark to that contract. Everybody was saying, why are you signing Linus Ullmark? You got Tuukka can come back. You could just go with Swayman, sign some cheap guy, and then if Tuukka comes back, then you say goodbye to the cheap guy, and then you got Tuukka and Swayman. Why wouldn't you just do that? And Felger made the point of this ownership cares about the bottom line. Don't all ownership groups? Sure. But like Jeremy Jacobs, if you saw that deposition about the concussion stuff, I believe it was, where he didn't really know who Mark Savard was, didn't really know who Matt Cook was, didn't know like Peter Chiarelli's email address or something like that. Just like
which really was shocking. Yeah.
Which is like very, very like hands off. Like it's the type of group that says, get us to the playoffs, get us the gate, and we're good. The goal of an ownership group is to get as many games as you can, get as many gates as you can, get as many tickets sold, concessions, et cetera, et cetera. So Felger said when they signed Ullmark, he said, oh, I know exactly what they're doing. They're just making sure they make the playoffs. Because is this an overinvestment? Sure. But if they do the sensible thing, which is save money at goaltender, spend it elsewhere, if Swayman isn't ready, if the other guy they signed stinks, if Tuukka isn't healthy, this could torpedo their season. And if you miss the playoffs, that is how you get fired.
Oh, absolutely.
So this is how you make sure that ownership, for lack of a better term, isn't paying attention. And is that just that maybe that's a little overstated? Apologies to Charlie Jacobs there. But you know what I'm saying there.
Yeah, I get it.
Like, if you want them off your case, just make the grade. Just get to the playoffs. So the Bruins are going to make the playoffs. I say all that to say, like, the Bruins are going to make the playoffs. They're going to be a wild card team. I thought all season they're just going to be a wild card team, which is fine. But a lot of teams have kind of fallen out of it. Just have been catastrophes. Flyers, namely among them, Flyers, Islanders have really fallen off to the point where your competition to just reach the playoffs is not strong.
Yeah.
You're going to make the playoffs. So I actually wouldn't be worried if I'm Don Sweeney that I'm going to lose my job. I got to do this great big thing to save me. Now, if he wants to say, I got to do this great big thing to shift the focus into a conversation about how we're contenders, that is something of which I'd be fearful, because the Bruins aren't going to be real cup contenders. Don't you think?
No, they're not cup contenders now. I mean,
no.
If they made some sort of miracle run to the Stanley Cup Finals this year, it'd be like, okay, I didn't expect this, but you didn't believe in this team, did you? No. If you really honestly thought on February 17th that this team was a Stanley Cup Final contending team, I would have told you to stop smoking, stop taking weed, go for a nice icy swim in the Charles River, and don't come back. Like, serious, like, really, like I could sit here and name 4 issues that is wrong with the Bruins right now as why I have my trepidations in terms of will this team make the playoffs? Yeah, sure, maybe, but Stanley Cup Final, yeah,
no,
okay, no,
right.
Like, stop it. With that being said, I look around the East, and I am worried about teams like Carolina, who have had your number. And if you're a wildcard team, you just may be playing them, or Florida, who's also had your number too.
Yeah.
Like, and you want to talk about, this team, maybe they can make a miracle. Like, no, they will not. They will not. And if they get to the first round, God bless them if they make it to Game 7.
Yeah, I mean, if they get a wild card team, if they get a wild card spot and they end up staying in the Atlantic, then you got to deal with Florida or Tampa. I got bad news for you. If you end up a wild card team and you end up getting kicked to the Metro, maybe some sort of miracle happens against Pittsburgh, and Carolina is
a wagon.
The actual like fabric of that team. You could say, well, like, we're the Bruins, we're big and we're strong, and like we've pushed them around for years now. Yeah, man, your roster ain't that good though.
And this roster is not even as good as the team that beat Carolina in the 2019 conference final. Not
No
even
doubt.
close.
No doubt. It's not as good as that. It's not as good as the one that beat them in the first round during quarantine in the bubble.
Mm-hmm.
No. You are worse. They are better. So I think you're making the playoffs. I don't know if you're winning a round. And again, that probably is enough to keep your job if you're a Bruins GM, which is frustrating. But as long as you can say, but we've got this, but Swayman ended up getting better. Or whatever, which is why I didn't get which is why the Ullmark thing was frustrating too, because I'm like, even if you suck this year, give us something to hold on to. Give us, hey, this was the year where we showed that we have the next goalie. Okay, fine. That's a step in the right direction. Is that horrible promo of me says, you know what I'm going to say? I want to see baby steps. And
I've seen it.
They show that all the Giles and I drive each other crazy. We'll try to sneak those into the show. Last show, I was just like, yo, I said it on the air. I was like, let's just try to say things that can make for a better promo. So we were talking about like whatever. And I would just like look at the camera. And I'd be like, he doesn't have what it takes. And I don't think he's going to have what it takes. Huh? Yeah, but seriously, like the Bruins are at a place right now where you're not going to contend. You need to make us feel that you're just moving, that you're moving somewhere. And that's all.
That's exactly where it's at. And I know it's mid-February, but for goodness sakes, I have my questions, and we'll see what happens when we get to the trade deadline. And last thing before I wrap up the podcast, baseball. I'm so effing like fed up, angry, mad with the sport right now. And I've had people who have asked me on Twitter, is there going to be a baseball season? And I'm like, well, they better pray that there is, because, although we're in the midst of a lockout right now, but I'm sick and tired of seeing these little feeble attempts to come to the drawing board, folks, and let's try to get a deal out. Let's try to make something work here. Like I'm sick of it. It's fake. It's so like contrived. Like if you really want to get a deal done, lock yourselves in a hotel room somewhere in Florida. I don't care. Bang it the hell out. And I want to make a point here on the podcast I made on a tweet that I made on Wednesday, and that is at least the NHL. As much as I slam Gary Bettman at times, warranted, albeit, at least they cared during the 2020 bubble quarantine Stanley Cup playoff run to get a deal done. Baseball, on the other hand, it's like, well, here's the deal, and okay, no, we don't like this deal. Okay, we're not talking to each other. And, like, I'm just sick and fucking tired of this shit already. Like, here we are in mid-February. NFL season's over. Baseball is supposed to have already started by now. What are your feelings on this lockout? Because I don't know what to say lockdown, because it feels like a lockdown between baseball fighting it amongst itself and the fans saying, you know what, to hell with this. I'll just watch college baseball and whatnot.
Okay, so without knowing any of the ins and outs of this, because I've not necessarily fallen out of love with baseball, but am not the seam head that I once was. I will say we're hockey people.
Yes.
So we say this with authority, and baseball should really listen to us when we say this. Like, this is not a good time for you to be doing this, baseball. Like, your popularity is not necessarily plummeting on the ropes, but it is going down. And you've got people like Jared Carabas who are like single-handedly holding you up and saving you. And without that man,
God bless. Seriously.
Yeah.
I know. I agree. Man,
I don't know where baseball would be right now, because I am entertained by baseball in ways that I wasn't before. And a lot of people who probably wouldn't check out baseball otherwise are, because of him and because of the sort of online experience. You are counting baseball on new things to help you hold on to relevance. This is not the time to say, hey, aren't we unlikable? Don't put that thought in people's heads. Don't you put that thought in people's heads, because in the early 2000s, hockey was fighting for its spot too.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And then it lost that season, and
it took years to recover.
It took a while,
yeah,
for it to get back into ESPN talking about it, and obviously ESPN getting the rights helps that. But like, into me being comfortable seeing somebody at a bar saying, man, you see the shark, you see that the goal that guy on the Sharks scored, because for a number of years people would say, what? No, sorry, I'm not a hockey person. Now I go up to the average sports fan and I don't feel stupid bringing up hockey to them. Thank God.
Yeah, seriously.
Baseball, don't turn yourself into that. Don't turn yourself into that, man.
Don't be that guy who walks up to the random guy and somewhere in Boston, like, yo, did you see that play that Wander Franco made? Wait, who? Yeah, exactly. Because that is something that you do not want and you do not need. Which is why I'm like, you know what, baseball, if you're gonna hemorrhage yourself, at least just put me out of my misery. Just say that there isn't going to be a season.
Yeah, just tell me now.
Like, just tell me now. While here we are in February. Don't let this get to March 15th. And now with opening day being delayed because you still don't have a deal done, go F yourself. That's how I honestly feel.
You're a Yankees fan, yeah?
Die hard, yeah.
Okay, so we'll have to do pizza and we'll have to do a Red Sox Yankees game because
yes,
I quite like Red Sox Yankees games with the Yankees fan. Like I haven't been in like a while, but like in the 90s, my dad would just like wouldn't let me go to baseball games unless it was like a Sunday day game, just because he was like, man, like it's animals out there. Like you're gonna learn new words. You're gonna get beer spilled on you and everything. And the experience, I think, at all stadiums has come far enough that I don't feel, if I'm wearing like an opposing I don't know, if I were to wear like a Celtics hat at like a Lakers game, I don't think I'm getting my ass kicked or whatever. So like back in the day, like if my dad took me to New York to go to a Red Sox Yankees game, he'd be like,
do not wear Red Sox gear. That's not, and for the young audience, that is not a fallacy. Like, no, that was literally old Yankee Stadium. I grew up going to games at old Yankee Stadium, so I actually know for a fact you were not getting out alive.
Yeah, you're not doing that. You're not doing, if you don't go to Fenway wearing other stuff, you don't go to Yankee Stadium wearing other stuff. Like, you just mind your own business. I remember in college, I went to a Bruins Habs game with my buddy who is a Canadians fan. Good Lord, the things that people would say and chant are just like really like terrible, unspeakable. Like, what are these? Like, these people are going to go work a job tomorrow. Like, these people, that person that's saying like that thing is going to actually hear it in my head already. I'm like, oh my God. Horrible. And I remember a thing, like, I was like in Bruins stuff and I'd be like, guys, like, come on, like, what are we doing here? And I was like, oh, they're drunk animals. And I don't know, like, sporting events was like the original Twitter, where for some reason people felt being at one gave you license to be horrible to people. And hopefully, I say all that to say that hopefully I think it's changed enough where, like, I've sat at Fenway Park with my buddy wears a Yankees hat, and we just like watch a game, and he's not hurting anybody, nobody's hurting him. Like, we're just like, we're just people. Maybe that's because people are on their phones, they're not really paying attention to the game, but there's a lot less terrible vibes. So we'll have to do have you done Yankees stuff at Fenway?
Oh yeah. Right? Oh yeah. Last September, I was at Yankees Red Sox, the final home weekend series at Fenway Park before the postseason. All three games, a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday game. Oh man, that the game that in which John Carlos Stanton hit that go-ahead grand slam in the 8th inning. I was there. I have photos, videos. I posted stuff on Twitter that weekend, and I told people this after the game. If you weren't at that game, you would have thought that it was Yankee Stadium with the eruption of that crowd of Yankee fans at Fenway, which was stunning in its own right, because it was like at that game, I remember it felt like it was 60-40 Yankee fans, Red Sox fans, which never in this city never happens. But it felt that way that particular game. And now back to your point about going to Yankees Red Sox. Number one, hell yes. Number two, Jared Carrabba's true story. Actually, after the Habs Bruins game that we went to together, was like, dude, we got to do a game together. I'm like, dude, you already know the answer to it. It's just a matter of when does baseball get his head out of its ass? And number two, yes, because understand this. And I'm sure you've seen the videos, and if not, people were like, dude, you and Jared, oh my God, one Bruin guy and a guy who happened to be a Yankee fan, and Carrabba's doing content together.
Oh my God.
You two would literally set Twitter on fire. I'm like, yes. And heaven forbid if it's a Yankees Red Sox game. You thought Bruins Habs was it? You didn't see shit yet. I promise. And I'm telling you, listen, yes. But I'm just thinking to myself, if it's us three, and I'm putting it into existence, but if it's us three this season, whenever it starts, Red Sox Yankees, me, you, and Carrabba's.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
That'll be the best, because I can be like Switzerland there. And because like I don't, unless it's like I get very into the Revs, I get very into the stupid Chargers, but like I rarely, I get this way with the Celtics too, I suppose, but I rarely get like treat sports as life or death.
Mm-hmm.
But I love people who do. Like I used to have that in me, and maybe I'm just like old and tired now, but
stop it.
I love, man, like you had me at Yankee fan plus Jared Carrabba's, because nobody is better at pushing the buttons than that dude. The video of him when the Astros went back to the World Series on the I think it was a walk-off home run, and he's watching with the Yankees fans.
Against, oh God,
and he's like, and that'll do it. The Astros are going back to the World Series. Aroldis Chapman, an abuser of women. Like,
wow. That set me off so much at that time. I'm like, I hate your fucking guts. But it's wild. It's wild now that I can honestly say like we've become really good friends. Like, but at the time I didn't really know him. I have a relationship with him. We hadn't even like met yet. Mm-hmm. But it was like, but at that time in October of 19, I'm like, I hate your guts. like seriously, go like fuck you. I hate your guts. But now like it's like it really is like great to like have that friendship and have that have a good like friendship and whatnot. But absolutely. Hell yeah, like to the idea of Red Sox Yankees like later on this season and whatnot. I want to wrap.
Now I am rooting for baseball.
Yes, like absolutely, because I plan to be obnoxious on Yankees Twitter this season when the season does start, but we shall see. But that's going to conclude this edition of the Shukri Wrights Podcast with DJ Bean of NBC Sports Boston. DJ, thank you, and we got more post show to talk about, but I just want to say thank you for coming on the podcast. Seriously, this has been an absolute blast. Thank you.
Appreciate you, man. Anytime. This is my kind of thing, man. Just like hanging out, shooting the shit, talking sports, talking whatever else is on our minds.
Absolutely. My pleasure, my man.